Hello, folks, and welcome to another episode of SHU Outdoors. As you can tell by the thumbnail, this is a episode regarding Chad Marks and the way I see the whole situation of people calling him out. But before we get into that, I want everyone to know out there who's viewing this video that I am thankful and grateful for every one of my subscribers. I've looked at analytics, and I have quite a few subscribers in Canada and quite a few subscribers in the UK. And I'm grateful for every one of you guys, and obviously for my subscribers here in my homeland in the United States. I'm grateful for every one of you guys, man. You mean the world to me, and we're going to build this channel from the ground up. And when I first got into the channel, I was kind of like, let's just see how it plays out. You know, it's more of a hobby. But now I've decided to take it to the next level and actually invest money in a studio. I'm kind of like in the back of my garage. My studio is in the back of my garage, and I was kind of playing with it before, but now I'm willing to invest the money necessary to actually create a proper studio, so I can start having guests on and start interviewing people and take the channel to the next level production-wise. You know, and with that, there's also an element of will YouTube pick you and start promoting your product? Because no matter how good of a product you produce, if it doesn't flash across people's home screen, well, they'll never know about the product, you know? And that's just a reality. I did 10 years in the United States Penitentiary. I did about 9+ years on a 10-year sentence, you know? And as you can see, I'm blasted out. You don't get these kind of tattoos in the United States. My whole back is dead. You don't get these type of fine line detailed tattoos in the United States Penitentiary if you're a lame, you know. So the things I speak on in this channel are legit, truthful. And another important element, I don't never want to come across as like some ultimate tough guy who knows everything. I know a lot of stuff. I've seen a lot of stuff. I did 14 years in New York State, and then I did another 10 years in the Feds. So in counting county bids and being on Rikers Island and going through that whole process, I probably did about, you know, closer to 30 years than the 25 years in numerous correctional facilities, state and federal, at the highest level. So I'm qualified to speak on a lot of topics and subjects, and that's why I wanted to touch on Chad Marks and blood on the razor wire.
Drop down, mostly to me. This has got a price of change. Light up, shining down on me. Feel so alive, it's you and me.
Chad, as you know as well as I do, misery loves company. It took me a while to really understand what that statement means. And what it means to me is this right here. Anytime you start doing well because of hard work, people are always going to come out of the woodwork and try to pull you back down into the bucket with them. Obviously, we're two totally different people, and I do not know you, but we share a lot of the same characteristic traits. I really got into doing legal work when I was in New York State, and that carried over with me to the federal prison system. I filed a 2255 trying to get a sentence reduction, but they wouldn't let me go back because I was a career offender, not an armed career offender. And without getting into the whole legal beagle prospect of it, armed career criminals had a mandatory minimum sentence. A career criminal doesn't have a mandatory minimum sentence. They have guideline ranges. And because I got busted in liberal New York City, the judge gave me 10 years for 4 bank robberies, where if I'd have did that in Florida or probably even upstate New York or Jersey or Connecticut or any number of other places, I'm sure the judge would have gave me 15, 20, 22 years, 18 years, and I would have been stuck with it because there was really no way for me to get back in court with the laws as they exist right now. So I'm grateful for that because, for a number of different reasons, when you do 9+ years in the United States Penitentiary, it's a whole nother level of politics, player hating, and you really have to elevate your game, for lack of a better word, in order to survive in there. Yeah, I did 14 years in New York State, and it's a very tough, rugged system. But the politics at the federal penitentiary level is really a popularity contest. I've seen so many good dudes get hurt really bad for no other reason that they fell out of favor with the in crowd. They didn't do anything wrong. They didn't tell them their case. They kept it real. They were good men who got hurt really bad by what I consider to be scumbags. All right? Having come through the New York system, it was more man time. Man, when you get into the federal penitentiary, it's honestly, you're a master manipulator or you're outright do-boy, willing to go on any mission that the manipulator wants to send you on. And if you don't, then you fall out of favor. You ain't keeping it real. You know what I mean? And I've just seen this way too many times. I mean, countless times, more times than I could actually describe here on YouTube. I've seen a lot of really good men who did nothing wrong, kept it 100 at every angle, and still got hurt really bad because, quote unquote, for lack of a better word, I don't even like to use the word because no man is a shot caller for me. I'm my own man. I got my own mind, and I do my own thinking, and my actions reflect my thinking. But for lack of a better word, I've seen these shot callers just make one bad shot after another bad call, after another bad call, after another bad call. And do boys still continuously go out of their way to gain favor with these people and commit horrible acts of violence without actually even seeing paperwork or even knowing what the hell is going on. Oh, Big John said this guy's no good. We got to go stab him, beat him, kill him. And I never could really understand the logic of that, and I really still don't, other than the basic truth. Just because you're violent and you end up in a United States penitentiary doesn't mean you're that damn smart. I've seen several people that were doing 8, 10, 12, 15 years end up catching a body and ended up with a life without parole sentence, or 40 or 50 years. They'll never see the light of day again. And with all truth, they shouldn't. If you're willing to go stab someone because Big John or Big Bill or Big Bobby or whatever the hell their name is said, this guy's no good, we need to go and take him out, man. And you pick up a weapon and go stab this guy 30 or 40 times because Big John or Big Bill or Big Bobby, oh, he's no good. And I've seen this also. The people who were sending people on these missions to go commit extreme acts of violence turned out to be no good themselves on like 3 or 4 cases prior to their federal case. I mean, it just boggled my mind that these idiots, and I'm using that word literally for lack of a better word, these stone cold morons was willing to go pick a knife up and go commit extreme acts of violence on a man that they had no case on. The guy didn't do anything wrong. What it was, he was too successful. He had too much money, or he was making moves, and Big John or Big Billy or Big Bobby couldn't get in on the action, so they made a case up against him. And typical do-boy fashion, they convinced other, I use the word men lightly. Biologically, they're men, but they have the mind of a 12-year-old. To go pick a knife up and go stab this guy brutally, or beat him half senseless, or put him in a wheelchair. And they don't even know why they did it. They did it to stay in the cool crowd, you know. So I've just seen it many, many times. And if one thing the United States Penitentiary actually taught me was, it's a place I don't never want to be again. There was nothing glorious about it. There was nothing cool to say about it. I can't point to one thing that I found rehabilitative that the prison provided. I've spent years accumulatively in the federal prison system. For any number of different things. And for the most part, it was for going against the quote-unquote shot caller, or these lames that are biologically men but have the mentality of an 8-year-old. You know, I went to federal prison for 10 years. I didn't go in there to catch another life sentence for keeping it real for dudes who didn't give a damn about me. You know, and I hear people calling people out, oh, this guy's a rat, this guy's this guy's that. Man, you got people in the world right now who would tell on everybody they know not to go to jail for 10 seconds, much less 10 days, much less 10 weeks or 10 months or 10 years or 30 or 40 or 50 years. They tell everything they knew. They tell on their mom, their brother, their father, everybody they know to stay out of jail for 10 days. Yeah, 10 days. So when you think about that, I just find it ridiculous. You got this guy, Chad Marks, who is a success story. He found a way to use the laws that were on the books with compassionate release to get out of jail. He's helped countless other men get out of jail and improve their life and become the best person that they could be. And you still have these lames that are trying to pull the man back down. My message to Chad Marks is, man, remember this, and you know this. I'm not telling you nothing you don't already know, but I want to say it to you anyway, because sometimes to hear someone say it out loud reinforces what you already know. Look, homie, misery loves company, okay? Don't feed into the nonsense, man. You know you're a good dude. I really think you're a damn good dude, man, and I just want you to know that, man. I respect the way that you've got out, you've rebuilt your life, you've helped a lot of people get out of jail, you've employed a lot of people, you've helped a lot, not only yourself and your family, but you've also helped a lot of other people become much better men than they would have been if you hadn't have been around to help them, man. So I just want you to know I have a lot of respect for you, man, you know, and I think you're doing a good thing. And don't let the player haters even occupy space in your mind. Continue to do what you've been doing and doing well. And you've been doing it well enough to become the target of player haters and wannabes who may have a little flash in the pan because they said something negative about you. But you know, negativity and beefing, yeah, it'll get you a little flash in a pan, a little moment of YouTube fame, but it won't last long, man. And what you're doing is positive and meaningful. I do not believe for a moment that you're a rat. I don't believe it. I don't believe for a moment that these dudes who are player hating on you have any legitimate knowledge about anything to do with you. You know what I mean? So, you know, Tell them to pound sand, man. Don't even respond to them no more. They're not worth your time, man. You know, and a lot of things that you and I have in common. I'm not necessarily the best that ever did it, but I'm a legal beagle. I got ongoing cases right now in civil matters. You know, I don't need an attorney. I can go find the law myself, write up the motions, put it in court, and keep it going. I know how to keep a case alive, you know, and I learned a lot of that stuff just from years, not even hours or days, like years in law libraries, searching laws and procedures and how to go about doing this and how to keep a case alive, you know. So that's one thing we have in common. Another thing we have in common is, just like you, I was with a woman, and a real good woman when we were much younger. I'm 56 years old now. I wasted like almost 30 years of my life in correctional facilities, including youth and youth authority in South Carolina, Rikers Island, the New York State prison system, the federal prison system, a couple of little state bits. About 30 years of my life. I'm 56 years old, man. So actually over half of my life I was in confinement like an animal, like you would treat like a United States penitentiary. They treat you like you're a rabid animal. And so I've experienced that. And because I was so out of control, me and my wife now, we had a child together. And because I was so out of control and really a dumbass, I can say that about myself because my actions would lead any reasonable person to believe that I was a dumbass. I got out of prison after doing that 9+ years on a 10-year sentence. And man, I said, well, I don't never want to experience that again. So, I mean, in that regard, maybe the U.S. penitentiary was effective. At least I had another opportunity to rebuild my life. I've seen so many people for very similar what I did, but they got busted in Mississippi or Alabama or Texas or one of these other conservative states, and they gave them 20, 25, 30 years. So, you know, you're supposed to have what they call disparity in sentencing, but that doesn't always work out in the feds. You know what I mean? Like, this guy over here in this federal district gets 10 years. This guy over here in this federal district gets 20 years. They both have the same similar background and the same similar crime, but all a federal judge has got to do is give a reason why they are giving you an upward departure or a downward departure. And anyone who knows anything about federal criminal law knows that to be the truth. And a lot of times you just find yourself hit, even though it's completely unfair. There's no way for you to get back in court and get a resentencing. So, you know, knowing all that after going through the federal prison system and knowing all that, I know how lucky I was to be able to get out of prison and have another legitimate chance of rebuilding my life. And getting out of federal prison, I recontacted my son and started building a relationship with him. And through him, I started talking to his mother again. And one thing led to another, and her and I are happily married now. She's from Connecticut. And we just got tired of the cold, you know what I mean? We got tired of the high cost of living, and we packed our game up and we moved to Florida, man. It was the smartest thing I ever did, you know what I mean? I own a home, I own trucks, I own motorcycles. I mean, Florida is a beautiful state. Yeah, the laws are not really good, but for the truth, that doesn't really affect me anymore because I don't commit crimes anymore. That's just in the rear view. And one of the things that I did, man, another reason why I wanted to leave New York, man, because, you know, I had did a lot of things and there that I'm not proud of. And I had a lot of friends there that was still in the criminal lifestyle. And I just didn't want to be associated with that anymore. I wanted to kind of have an opportunity to create another life, man. When I got down here to Florida, man, she's always had a pretty good job. And now she has a much better job. But because of my criminal record, being a CEO of a company right out of prison was very unrealistic. So what I had to do was take jobs that nobody else wanted to take. And I did that for two reasons. One, because the money you make actually working hard and the opportunities it provides to meet other people and create a legitimate network for doing business, and also to instill a good work habit. Like you go to work, consequences, we usually associate consequences with negativity. You do something bad, this is the consequences. But consequences is like a very neutral word. You go to work all week, you get a paycheck on Friday. You don't commit crimes, you have an opportunity to pursue happiness, and it's a pursuit. And I'm not saying I have it all figured out, but I'm definitely on the right track to getting things figured out. And even now, man, I'm really very skeptical of people. I keep my circle small. And it was kind of like a kind of a challenge for me, because for most of my life I was out in the streets doing this, doing that, meeting people, always involved in this or involved in that. And being down here in Florida is much more a slow motion lifestyle, but that's okay, man. You know what I mean? I love the beach. I love palm trees. I love the sand. It's a beautiful state. The laws, you got to be on your A game in Florida if you want to be successful and you want to be legit, and that's what I'm all about, man. So, that's my message, man. And I'm happily married to a woman that left me when I was in prison. And she had not when I was in prison, before I went to prison, she left me because I was too out of control, man. I was doing dangerous things. She's a good girl. I've always had a thing. I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful to any women, but I never wanted a woman that was in the streets. I always had the good sense to say, hey, I might be in the streets doing things that I shouldn't be doing, but I didn't want a woman that was in the streets doing those things alongside me. You know what I'm saying? So before I went to federal prison, really before I started really doing state time, she left me. So her and I, with my child, she did a great job, man, as a single mother. And she got married again, ended up divorcing that guy well before I came back into her life, And then we started talking, and one thing led to another, and we got married, and we just decided to pack our game up and get out of the Northeast, because no matter how hard you work up there, it's very hard to get ahead. Even if you make $500,000 a year, it's going to take a lot of money just to heat the house, and, payments on this and payments on that, So I took a lot of the New York know-how that I had and her Connecticut know-how, and we've come to Florida and we've thrived. And I have every intentions of continuing to thrive. Man, don't feed into the negativity, man. I'm sure as this channel continues to grow and I find hopefully a measure of success on YouTube, I'm sure haters are going to come after me too. It's just a natural thing, man. But I really don't give a damn what some lame has to say about me, or I don't measure up to their standards. Oh man, you didn't catch a life sentence while you were in the feds. You're not a real Wood, man. A real Wood would have went to the federal penitentiary with 10 years and caught 2 more life sentences because you were keeping it real. You know what I say to those people? Kiss my ass, because misery loves company, Chad. Don't feed into it. Don't even respond to the lames no more. You know what I mean? Like, who cares what they got to say? You know what's real. I support you. I love your show. I think you're doing a really good show, and I think you're making a positive impact in your community. And that's what really matters, man. Your family knows what you're about. And more importantly, with all due respect, you know what you're about. You know the bad you did, the price you had to pay for the bad you did. the opportunity you got when you got released from prison, and instead of squandering it like so many men and women do who are ex-offenders and end up right back in jail or prison, you didn't do that. You took another path, a path of hard work and positivity, man, and you've helped a lot of other people, man. So I just want you to know, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate your show. And I strongly encourage you, man, not to even feed into negativity and nonsense, man, because nothing good could come out of it, man. You know who you are, man, and you know what you've been through. Little Kim wrote a song one time, and I ain't gonna. She said something to the effect of "Player hating from the sidelines. Get your own blank. Stop riding mine." And that should be your response to all these lames who come after you and try to smut your name. Who cares what these losers think, man? Most of these dudes will be right back in jail within another year or two because, yeah, they may have been able to get out and build a little something for themselves, but because they're still in the prison state of mind, they'll probably end up reoffended, and it probably won't even take long because, it's one thing to present one image on YouTube. It's another thing what you're actually doing behind the scenes. So, helpful, man. Helpful. So that's my message to you, man. And just so you know, I'm not trying to be on your show or do an interview. I don't want to steal none of your spotlight or your glory. I just wanted to give you a little bit of positive encouragement, man, because when you got a whole bunch of people, even though when you're doing great and you're doing good things for people, when you got people player hating from the sidelines, then you don't have any positive encouragement, not just from your family. That's a different story. You're dealing with your family, but from the YouTube community, it's easy to say, man, what was all the hard work for, And I still got these people player hating on me, you know what I mean? And hey, man, I say, let them hate. Don't even respond to them no more. They're not worth your time. They're not worth your energy. The heck with them, man. For lack of a better word, I could use a lot of hard language, but I don't really think it's necessary. I love your show. I have a lot of respect for you. I really like what you're doing, man, and keep the good work up, man. Yeah, that's the reason why I keep this here, all right? This is what you guys look forward to if you ever end up in the federal penitentiary. This is the gear you're going to be rocking. This is a jumpsuit I brought home with me. I've had it for, I don't know, I've had it for many, many years, but I've had it hanging here for a while now. And I keep it there just to remember. I also got my Ibanez Shredder guitar there. Yeah. All right. So this right here is the gear you can look forward to wearing if you ever end up in federal prison, right? My lucky $2 bills, and those sunglasses came from federal prison also. The readers. That's what you got to look forward to, man. So, if you want to end up with a 40-year prison sentence, rocking this fly gear here, hey, I guess you're going to be the ultimate judge and ultimately held responsible for your actions. But this is the gear you got to look forward to rocking if you ever end up in a federal penitentiary.